We're having a great day today and a beautiful afternoon. It is kind of a little nippy out there, but the sun is shining, and we know that Christmas is not that far away. Happy holidays, everybody out there. You're watching Ocean's Pit Monday through Friday at noon, a little lunchtime fun. Check the website, TonyOceanMusic.com, and give us a call at 847-769-8609 to book a show. A great week coming up for you folks, and don't forget, every show is dedicated to the first responders. Thank you for everything you do. But mostly thank you for all you guys who actually sit and take the time to watch the show. And whether you're watching it on the Tony Ocean Show Facebook page, on the Mo Carraro Facebook page, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, formerly Twitter, we are on YouTube, and we're also on the Ocean's Pit Facebook page. 5 different ways to watch the show Monday through Friday. And we're having a lot of fun. And we got a great week of guests and fun and excitement, and that's what it's all about. Today's guest is my good friend, Mr. Chuck Fieldman, everybody. He was with the Chicago Tribune Media Group for many years, also Pioneer Press, also The Doings for 39 years. He's been around everywhere in media, folks, and he's probably met all celebrities. And he introduced me to something, and I always listen to British Invasion music, but he introduced me to something called power pop, which is still my favorite music of all time. And my favorite band of all time, as you all know, was the Raspberries. So we have a lot in common with that kind of stuff. So we have Chuck on. Tomorrow we got my good buddy Greg Potter on and Kathy Rich. That's right, the daughter of Buddy Rich and Greg, of course. They have a big Christmas show coming up at the Arcada Theater at the end of the week. Thursday, the lovely Laura Ocean with my co-host. We got some surprise guests Wednesday and Friday. We'll announce those tomorrow. Anyway, so it's going to be good. So let's get right to our sponsors, folks, because we got to love them. We got to love our good friends from Ace Hardware. Ace is the place. Buy a local, shop local. Where you at, Ace? There you are. Ace Hardware. Buy local, shop local, folks. Norwich Displays, Evergreen Park, Warrenville. Ace is the place. They're always doing the right stuff. And, folks, the holiday season decor items, lights are 30% off through December 24th. Small engine repair, free pickup and delivery at $35 savings. Customers can bring their own snowblower in to the stores or call the scheduled or pick up entire month of December and get a free $10 Ace bonus gift card when you purchase a $50 Ace gift card through December 24th. That's our good friends from Ace Hardware. Buy local, shop local. Ace has been helping neighbors before they were neighborhoods. Our good friends from Ace. Let's get another sponsor out of the way, folks. Our good friends, the best, our good friend Mary, everybody. And we all love Mary. That's right. So if you're looking for real estate, that's the lady. Buying or selling in the Chicagoland area, Mary Grievous, your trusted local realtor with years of experience and deep understanding of the market. Yeah, she is here to guide you every step of the way. Let's turn your real estate dreams into reality. Contact her today at 630-688-1725 or go to mgrievous@starkre.com. Our good friend Mary. Absolutely. And let's not forget, it is the season, folks, to be jolly. And, you guys are trying to figure out new stuff to do. Go out there and do your stuff. Our friends from Sunny Acres. Let's not forget our good friends from Sunny Acres. All right, so come celebrate the holidays at the big, bright trail of lights, Sunny Acres Farm, where there will be billions of dazzling lights, a sparkling walking trail with fun stops along the way while featuring larger-than-life holiday displays set to your favorite holiday tunes. Be sure to come and bring your kids to see Santa on the weekends. Check out the website to reserve your tickets and time slots. That's sunnyacres.com. That's Sunny with an O. Sunny Acres is 29 West 310 North Avenue, West Chicago. Call them at 630-231-3859. This is only good till the end of the year, folks. And then last but not least, folks, before we bring up our guest, Chuck Fieldman, everybody, we're talking about my good buddy from Bernie DeMayo Partners. Now, I always said, folks, if I had my last spending dollar, and I say it, and I think everybody else, I know the great Bill Gates said it once himself, which is very, very important. I believe that if you have your last spending dollar, what are you going to spend it on? You're going to spend it on public relations. And I think that's what we need. Bernie DeMayo, publicist, they've been my publicist for now almost a couple years now. and they've been getting us tons and tons of TV and radio and stuff. So you got to love them for that, for what they do. And they've been in the business for so many years. And that's what Bill Gates said. He's worth $1 billion, folks, and he spends his money on a port of, which is important, being a publicist. So I think all the small companies out there and some of the bands out there or musicians out there looking to get your name out. Bernie DeMeo is the guy. He works for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, the Chicago White Sox, Phil Stefani group, and so much more. So that's my good buddy Bernie DeMeo. Check him out, 312-217-5658. That's BernieDeMeo.com. My good buddy Bernie. All right. So, Monday, so much to throw in 1 hour, and that's what it's my favorite one, my favorite day of the week. We do Mondays, actually. People don't like Mondays, but I like Mondays. All right, so it's been a busy week, and I just want to say we started off on Friday night. Of course, my good friends from Chicago Prime. I want to thank everybody. Daryl Armistead did an incredible job on Friday. Saturday, folks, was a great day as well. We love the beautiful Lyric Theater in Blue Island, Illinois, which we sold it out with the Oceans Rat Pack holiday show. And Pat and his crew over there do an incredible job. Had about 400 people. It was completely sold out, even the VIP rooms up there. And it was our first holiday show as our Rat Pack. We've done many, many shows, but we never did a holiday show. So very fun, very thrown out stuff. We did 50-50 Christmas and 50-50 hits of the Rat Pack. So it was very, very cool. I want to thank Regina Karma, for special guest Regina, for coming in and singing Baby It's Cold Outside. And of course, I want to thank Elliot Winbush. Don't forget Karen out there, Dean. We want to thank Shelby, and of course Bill Saratella, who plays Frank, and of course Jerry Jams Renda. So it was great. Just loved it, and boy, what a way to start that off. And we're back there again in June, so we have like 2 shows a year at the Lyric Theater. Sunday was a great day. It was Italian Heritage Night at Chicago Blackhawks game against the Washington Capitals. The Hawks did lose. But it was still fun, and thank you, Joey Spins, for that, and Danny Mazzi, and everybody, Mike and Hardcore Italians. It was about a group of 20 of us, and it was great watching. I haven't been to a Hawks game since my bachelor party. So, I'm more of a Rangers fan, but I still go, because it was Italian Heritage Night, so it was very, very important for that. So that was cool. And then, of course, folks, Saturday during the day, you knew a couple months back that me and my wife, Laura, were going to be grandparents for the very first time. And I know Chuck, how much he loves his grandkids. It's great. So we had the gender reveal party, as we call it. I didn't know that's what they call it now. I thought people just picked up the phone and called. But anyway, so Nina and Eric, of course, came, and about 42 people. And then they did the tic-tac-toe thing. And we found out that she's going to have a boy. Nobody knew in the family. Nobody knew. So it was very, very cool. And I'm proud and honored. And congratulations again to Nina and Eric. We're going to be grandparents. And I think the baby will probably, God willing, will be coming in May. So that was very well. I've never seen a gender reveal. I just thought the days you just pick up the phone and say, hey, it's a boy. But now things are different. So it was great seeing Eric's family there and our family, of course. My mom came and my sister. So it was a very blessed event. And it was cool because this is something. And it's really, that saying, one door closes, one door opens. And, 6 months, it's been a while since Mama D has passed. It looks like we might be frozen here. Oh, there we are. Anyway, Mama D passed, and the one door closes and one door opens. It's amazing. So that Mama D's life is over with and past, but now we have the new life opening with the boy Winter born in May. So I'm just excited about that. Thank you, Terry Santoa. We're excited, Terry. How you doing, Mina? Ryan Lewis, how you guys doing? Kim Peterson, LaFew, Richard Hamlin's in the house. You took your son to Sunny Acres, Richard? Well, great, man. I hope you had a great time. It's a lot of fun there. Kathy Eppolito, of course. We got Santa Barbara watching, our good friends from Ohio. Albert from the Ron Onesti organization. Looks like we are frozen again. I don't know. It's got to be just sometimes what happens here in our area. Anyway, folks, let's not forget now, less than 28 days, less than 25 days in the Chicago Music Cruise 2024. and we are so excited about that. January 7th through January 14th, 2024, 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise, the Royal Caribbean Wonders of the Sea. Biggest ship on the water, folks. 4 football fields long, 5,000 people on this ship. It is going to be fantastic. We're going to start off in Orlando, Florida. Then we're going to go to Coco Key, Bahamas, of course, St. Martin, and Puerto Rico. It's going to be Tony Ocean in the main event band, then my new pop band called Mojo's Jukebox, and the ringleaders themselves, Seventh Heaven. All of us for 1 week, and there's still some tickets left. If you're interested in jumping on board, go to MarriottNTDVacations.com. Tell them Tony O sent you. We are excited for the Chicago Music Cruise 2024. Busy week this week. Thursday, sold out show at the Carriage Greens in Darien with Ocean's Rat Pack. Friday, we'll be at Chicago Prime Steakhouse. Saturday, we'll be at Ron Onesti's Club Arcada Speakeasy with the main event band. That's upstairs, 8:30 show, oshows.com. All right. Thank you guys so much. Time to bring up my good guest. Let's bring him on. Been waiting too long. My friend Chuck. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you? And congratulations on becoming a grandpa soon.
Thank you, Chuck. I see your pictures that you post, and I know you've been around and you've met so many people, but I know how proud you are when you have pictures of the kids there. That's pretty cool. And it'd be the first time ever. So for me, it's very, very exciting. It's something different, for me and my family.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. And actually, the kid, that's my goddaughter's kids.
Okay, goddaughter. Okay,
they're closer than most of my blood relatives are. And just one thing that cracks me up, I'm a big Three Stooges fan. And I went to a Stooges convention about 8 years ago near Philadelphia and met a bunch of the relatives, and have kept in touch with a couple. And we've got Curly's daughter and a granddaughter that adore the little boy you've seen the pictures of, my goddaughter's little boy. And I said, I can't wait till I can watch the Stooges with him.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to watch out these days. I'm sure, the kids growing up these days, Chuck, with the music or TV shows and stuff that we watch compared to right now, what's going on right now. Some people, you can't. Remember, even when we were kids, parents didn't want you to watch the Three Stooges because you wanted to pick up that hammer and hit your buddy over the head with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's amazing what the Three Stooges did. I read I met Joan Howard I think was Mark's daughter.
Yeah.
And Larry's daughter, I think when they did a book tour, I think it was. But it's amazing that they didn't make a lot of money because of the deal that they had, the contract, whatever they had.
Very true. Yeah.
I think a lot of those entertainers at that particular time got kind of screwed up like that. But it's still, when you say the Three Stooges, I think everybody still knows them. I'm hoping the younger generation will embrace the Stooges like we did. Chuck, let's go real fast today. Where were you born, my friend?
Chicago.
Chi-town.
Yep.
A big family?
No, not really. Lived in the city till I was 2, and then we moved. I grew up in Skokie.
Okay.
I lived there for many years, and then have been in a few other places in the Chicago area. Lived in Forest Park for about 28 years and moved to Grayslake about almost 3 years ago.
3 years ago. You're being, working with the media. How long? Were someone in your family influenced you on that, Chuck? Where did you always want to do that?
Not at all. 2 of my closest friends were the co-sports editors of our high school newspaper, and I wasn't even involved with that. Always a big sports fan, and went away to college at Northern Illinois as a business major. I don't know why. It was a thing to do. I was a journalism minor. I got very involved in the daily newspaper at Northern, Monday through Friday paper, originally with sports, and eventually ended up changing my major to journalism on the advice of our college newspaper advisor, who was incredible. Did some stuff outside of sports. He said, even if you come back to sports, it's going to help you. And I graduated, got a job doing news and stuff, and then I did freelance writing for the Illinois Entertainer and some other music magazines.
Sure.
I've always been a big music fan, and been very fortunate and blessed over the years. I've met a lot of interesting people, and most of them have been very nice.
Yeah, well, that's some of the questions I was asking. You meet different celebrities, you meet different people. You met everybody. I mean, just a picture that I posted today with Lou Graham from Foreigner, Peter Newman from Hermits, and you met some great people. Even Pete Best, that must have been pretty cool. How do you think he must have felt? Did you get a chance to talk to Peter at all, real quick?
Yeah, but I didn't get into that. It was actually one of those Beatle fests, but I
Sure.
did get a chance to chat with him, and you know, that was the last thing I was going to ask him about.
Yeah.
It just there was no point to it. If I want to learn more about that, I'm sure I can find a book and read it. The other thing
Read
that
it.
was cool at that same Beatle fest, I met Klaus Valmer, who did the
Oh,
Revolver album cover and
sure,
was
sure.
involved with the Beatles too. So they were
Yeah.
both very nice. And I
Klaus
joked.
Schwab. Yeah, very cool.
Well, I joked. I have a photo with Pete Best. I also briefly met Ringo and got a photo with him. So I said, I got to find Jimmy Nicol, the
Yeah,
drummer
that's
who
right.
filled in for Ringo in Australia.
The one time, yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. I think I asked Albert. I think because he loves the Beatles. Albert from the Onesti organization. Do you know whatever happened to Jimmy Nichols? Did he ever do? I bet he thought he was going to be somebody was going to grab him and he was going to become rich and
Yeah,
famous.
I seem to remember reading something, about that, and nothing ever came of it at all. And he kind of went back to whatever he was doing. I don't recall. Again, at some point, I think I read something about it. I looked it up, but I'm pretty sure he's still alive.
Well, you
You
know
know,
what? That's just what a story that is. And I love when we talk and we meet. And we have a lot of, let's say, musical things. And you've turned me on to so many great songs and great groups. But we lost John Lennon, and the anniversary was on Friday. And what do you think, Chuck? What would John Lennon be saying right now, or what kind of music would be saying if John Lennon was still alive today?
yeah. Obviously, we can speculate. Um, I don't know. I mean, and who knows you know how his personality would have changed as he got older. Um, I off the top of my head, I think he would have gotten involved with some younger artists, helping them, um, things like that. But again, would the Beatles have ever, done more? I tend to doubt it.
Do
Um,
you think you would? Do you think John would have been part of that anthology?
yeah, probably.
It would have. So that would have been technically it would have been a real reunion. I
Right.
don't think they'd ever do any live shows, but it would be
No,
something.
or record. I don't think they would have recorded a brand new whole album or anything like that.
Right,
Definitely
right.
no live shows. There's really, for them, what would be the upside of that?
Nothing.
Exactly, nothing,
Yeah.
nothing.
I mean, there's no one gonna. I mean, people say, "What if they would have got back?" Or "What if they got together with Julie?" And no, they don't need to do that. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Just like going back to this new hype for 6 months to a year. Ooh, we found the new Beatles song, and Paul and Ringo. I'm sorry that's even remember. That song was available during Anthology, and George. It's quoted in the on a quote to George Harrison. They were working on the song. He walked out. He said it was rubbish. That was George Harrison's word.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
What I don't remember if I sent it to you or not. Somebody, and I forget the guy's name,
you did
did
send it to me.
did like a more upbeat power pop version. I thought that was really cool.
That was real good. They should go back and re-record it that way because it was fantastic. But it was, of course, everybody was excited about that. But I think towards John Lennon's when he passed away, when he got killed, actually a horrible, tragic death. But he was mellowing out a little bit too, because remember he was coming back and he gave up singing for many years to take care of the Sean, and it seemed like he mellowed out a little bit. So who knows what he would have been like right now with the craziness that's going on. But uh, music wise, I mean, was that one of your favorite Beatles? Was it John?
I didn't really have a favorite Beatle. I love the Beatles. I would have to say that they are my all-time favorite band, right in front of Raspberries and then Shoes.
Right.
The funny thing about that, I've had people ask me to make lists of like top 10, top 20 all-time favorite bands, and the Beatles are number one. But it's hard for me. I love the Beach Boys, the Kinks. I mean, it's it's hard for me to like figure out where, other than the Beatles, like where like '60s bands fit into things, because it was a whole different thing for me. I think in general, but those bands were, it was all singles. They were the songs. I mean, where later on it became, bands that I loved. It's like the whole albums.
Sure,
So
sure, sure. But you know what? Like, look, Dave Clark Five had some pretty good
love them.
records.
Yeah,
Hermits still had some good records. I think the Hollies had some great records too.
big Hollies fan. I'm a big
Big
Hollies.
Hollies fan too. It was Bobby Elliott's birthday too yesterday, I think, one of
Yeah,
the
I
original.
saw that.
Yeah, yeah. So I was always big on that. Were you a Stones guy, Chuck?
Yeah, I mean, I was never into the Beatles versus Stones thing. I like the Beatles better, but I like the Stones. But for me, and I underline for me, the Stones were always more of a singles band, while the Beatles were both.
Yeah, I mean, you listen to the Beatle records, even when they first came out, every tune was great to me.
Right.
Sometimes the Stones, you might have one or two good ones, but the whole album was kind of. But you're right, every Beatle song, every song, everybody knows. You know what I mean? What you love about that. Of course, let's get into the rock and roll stuff. We've seen, of course, we're talking about Kiss made their last performance in New York. Were
Maybe,
you ever a Kiss fan?
maybe,
Right,
maybe. We don't
maybe.
know.
That's right.
Now, at least we're now going to get at least avatars, right?
All right. Well, they do have. I heard they have a concert scheduled in the summer in 2024. The festival that they already booked that they couldn't get out of. But what do you think of this Avatar? I heard a lot of the fans were upset during the encore. This thing.
Yeah,
Now they said ABBA's been doing it for a while, but ABBA has not been touring in years.
yeah. You know what? My thing to people who have a problem with it, then don't watch. It's like people could, you don't like what's on, turn the channel.
Yeah.
So Kiss fan, I saw Kiss live 4 times,
Okay.
and
All with the makeup. All with the makeup.
one, two, three with makeup. In fact, New Year's Eve '82, my best friends in the band Shoes opened for Kiss at the Rockford Metro
Wow.
Center, and
Oh,
yeah, weird billing, but it went well, and we found out Gene Simmons was a huge Hughes fan that night.
right.
But
Right. Right.
what was
Right.
that was one of the last shows Kiss did with the makeup. But what we thought was we were so cool. So we're in the arena, and Kiss is doing sound check, and they don't have their makeup on yet. So we got to see him with no makeup, while
Makeup. Yeah.
nobody. But you know what? I did a phone interview with Gene Simmons probably in '79. And something he
Okay.
said, so he goes, Kiss is like Disneyland. It's an escape, it's a show, and I agree with that. As far as their music goes, they have some songs. They have probably a handful of songs that I really liked. They had
Me too.
several others that I thought were okay.
Yeah.
I'm never a big fan of their music, but I got a kick out of them, and
Yeah.
it was an escape.
It was something completely different. And working for the media as long as you have, I mean, did you have a favorite of the times? I mean, I know you were doing the Entertainer. I know you did worked with Pioneer Press, the Tribune, and the Doings. Did you have something favorite, like one of your favorites that you enjoyed more, or just like doing it in
Well, I
general?
enjoyed, I when the Tribune got sold about 2.5 years ago, the company that bought it, they offered buyouts, and I was not planning. I was planning to keep working, even though I was going to be turning 65.
Hmm.
And it turned out to be a good time to get out with the sale of the company. Plus, I was 2 weeks away from being eligible for Medicare, and that was huge because I wasn't going to go without health insurance. But
Sure.
I now have continued. I do some freelance stories for my old editor. Plus, some
Uh huh.
Suburban Magazine publisher contacted me, doing some stuff for them. So I pretty much set my own schedule with that. It's very part time. I still enjoy the writing, so I get to do that. I enjoy just being in contact with people, and it doesn't pay a lot, but a few extra bucks never hurt, obviously.
Sure. Obviously,
So
yeah. But back then, when you were writing, you wrote about a topic. When you decided to tell a story, did you ever pick your own stories, or did they tell you what to write?
Well, for the newspaper, I had a broad area, like a geographic area that I covered. Then it was, I would say, at least 90% was on me to find stories. And,
That's
and as you work with editors, they learn. I mean, the freelance stuff I do now, it's my old editor, with the Tribune publications, and he's thrilled because he said most of the freelance writers, he said he has to find stories and pitch it to them. I got basically two towns that I cover for him, and I know people there, so I find my own stories, and and,
yeah,
and again, I really enjoy it. My One of my very closest friends, who Gary Cleve from Shoes, said something a
sure,
while back. We were talking about the whole thing about retirement, and he said
yeah,
something. Gary says some pretty insightful things sometimes. He said something that really stuck with me. He said, "Everybody needs purpose, especially when you're going to retire. You need purpose." And the writing that I'm still doing is part of mine, as are a few other things, including my goddaughter and her kids and stuff. That's a huge
sure.
part of my purpose. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And you're very good at what you do,
well, thank you.
Chuck. But with the media now, or even like besides the journalists or the talk shows or the people, it's like, are they told what to say and what to write these days because the sponsors or their CEOs would get mad? I mean, how do you think it's working now? Difference between now and 20 years ago, in your
Yeah,
opinion?
honestly, I don't really know.
Hmm.
I strongly suspect. I mean, newspapers obviously, so many have shut down. You know,
It's
you
horrible,
know,
sad.
and so many people, pr- more so younger ones, and I'm not picking on anybody, but they rely on headlines on social media, for and I kind of half kiddingly said something the other day to a friend. I said, they're trying to get some interest in something, or I even posted something on Facebook, and I usually don't post this kind of thing. I said, this is my old man post. I said, I talk to young people, high school age and a little older. They don't know how many states there are in this country. I mean, is that going to be life threatening for them? Probably not. But they
Probably
don't know how
not.
many countries are in North America. Just basic things like that. And I said, you know what? If a bunch of people hammer that home on TikTok, then they'll all know it because it just seems, And again, I know I sound like an old man saying that. It just seems that a lot of young people, all they care about is TikTok.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of interesting? It goes back to the music too. The bands back in the day that we used to love, they drew the circuit, they worked their butt off, they tried to get a deal, they tried to go out, they tour. It looks like now you can come up with a jingle jangle thing, put it on TikTok, million views, you get and you're out there and you're
But
famous.
you don't make any money, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
That's
right.
the other
So
problem.
yeah, it's different. And Chuck, why do you think back in the 70s and the 60s there were managers, there was agents, there were record companies, movie studios? Why do you think they all left Chicago?
It's not just that they left Chicago.
You know what I mean?
There,
Yeah,
there's really very little record business left anymore.
sure.
And it's a different world. And I mean, you know this. There are bands. First of all, I feel very fortunate to have been around and learned about and went to. When there were all these live music clubs, rock clubs in the Chicagoland area, um, and every night you go back. Ken Voss, the original publisher of the Illinois Entertainer, posts stuff on
Right.
Facebook like old ads and stuff. It's like you know bands that became pretty big off Broadway on a Tuesday night somewhere. Stuff like, I mean, you could go out and I did for a couple of years. I mean, I ended up working part time at Haymakers, which closed in
Yeah.
'84, doing promotion. And I mean, what a I mean, I got stories I could tell till next year about stuff, and they're fun. They're good stories. I mean, they're very positive. And that just there is no local music scene anymore. There hasn't been for years.
Yeah. And it's and some of those great bands that we always talk about and stuff. It's just amazing that some of them got a shot, and then sometimes they don't get the right push. Like for instance, out of Chicago, who do you think should have been huge, huge? I'm talking about didn't get the right push.
Oh,
Maybe not to their demise. Maybe because of the record company's fault, not their demise. I'm talking
well, a
about.
band is a band at the time that actually recorded an album for a CBS affiliate that never got released. They are one of my two all-time favorite bands from the Chicagoland area that played the circuit that never actually. I mean, technically, this band got signed, but they never had a major label release. I don't know if you remember, there was a band called Europe, a local band, not the band that
Local
you know,
band. Yes, yes.
they
I
were
remember
actually
seeing the
they
advertised. I
were
don't
actually
remember seeing them.
Prism
Yeah.
before Europe, but they were great. I mean, just songs, just tons of great songs. Um, David Grunhofer is still doing some stuff that he was the lead singer. Um, you know, they were great. And then there was a band that I know, I'm pretty sure you do remember from Racine, Wisconsin, Take Me.
Take
They
me.
were
Yeah.
great, and
Great pop band.
great,
Yes, I seen them with Cheap Trick a couple of times.
they had a lot of great originals, but when they first were playing around at the bars, they were doing a lot of covers like 2020 stuff,
Yeah. Sure.
Cheryl, stuff that most people didn't know. They weren't trying to fool anybody.
Right.
Take Me was within this close of signing a major label deal with Elektra. And then one of the band members, I won't mention names, decided that who did a lot of their writing for original stuff, decided that he didn't like pop tunes anymore, and he started writing what I call funeral march music,
Oh,
real dark
Jesus.
type stuff. And Elektra
Yeah.
lost their interest, and that was that. They were a lot of fun. Bands that should have been huge. I don't know. That's hard to say. I mean, the first thing that pops into my mind, but I don't know. I think they should have been bigger than they were. Was The Kind.
I love the
Yeah, I
kind.
was
I
a
mean,
big
those
fan.
both records were
Yeah,
great. I thought they were very talented. They had some great songs, great guys individually too. Even when you
well,
talk to them, just down to earth
I always
guys.
joke with them. They should have been called Foreign Currency because they had three guys named Frank and one named Mark, right?
Mark,
Yeah,
yeah. That would have been very
yeah,
cool. But they were
but
great.
in terms of bands that I thought were great that could have been huge in not necessarily on what I like, but what you know was Europe. I think their music probably would have appealed to a larger audience. The Kind was a very specific. Yeah.
Specific pop.
First time
Yeah,
I saw
right.
The Kind was actually the first time I saw Shoes. It was December 4th, 1979, at the Rock Garden in Elmhurst.
You know what? That's another great band. They had a nice big hit. I thought Too Late was great. That first record. I mean, they not their first record, but they've had so many records, so many great songs. There's a band that I just love and still listen to. Shoes. It's amazing that they're. And I was unfortunate didn't get to see that reunion thing. Not the reunion, but the show they did a couple years ago. I wish I would have got to see that. Are they recording any more? Any new stuff? Are they doing anything, Chuck?
Is a band, no. Gary Cleve from Shoes has been, I think him and Jeff Murphy both have kind of home studio setups. And I know Gary's been recording some stuff. I don't know what will happen. I've heard some rough, like rough mixes of a few things, and it's great. I mean, sounds like a new Shoes record to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I said years ago that they will never officially break up.
Right. They just stay around. Like the Kinks never really broke
Right.
up. They're just
Well,
the two
and I
now.
heard the brothers have been talking about maybe doing something.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
would
they've
be
been showing a lot of pictures of them on their pages together, and which would be cool because we kind of need that
well. I
again.
don't know.
Uh,
Are you aware that
yeah,
Shoes actually opened for the Kinks in '83 at the UIC Pavilion?
that's I do
That
remember
was a
that.
fun day.
That must have been fun. Great seeing two great bands. My good friend Chuck Fieldman. Chuck, let's talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Okay.
now, or the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame, as some people call it. Why do you think some bands are not in there that should be? I mean, come on, it took forever to get Trick in there. I think the Rascals finally got in there, but I mean, what? Why? Is it because the young people have no clue about these bands, or they really care? What's your take on
I
the whole
don't
thing?
think it's about the young people because I don't think they have a say in this at all. I think there's politics involved. I think there's some hard headedness, and um, it is interesting to me. You hear a lot of musicians talk about, I don't care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame until they get voted in.
Sure.
One thing I've had people ask me several times, and happened again last week, and I am able to separate between what I like and what I think. For example, I was never a Jethro Tull fan at all. Jethro Tull
Me either.
deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in my opinion. To me,
Sure.
the biggest single oversight is Tommy James.
Absolutely. And let's go back to one of my favorites, and I know you like them too. I don't know if you still do. I know you still like his music. But is Eric Carmen in the Hall of Fame?
No, Eric, no, and it wouldn't have been Eric Carmen. It would be the Raspberries.
Right, but what about is he in the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
I don't think so.
I mean, they're right there. I mean, All by Myself alone, just that song. I mean, was huge. Why?
That's
I
been
mean,
covered by a lot of people too. Yeah, and obviously, whatever his politics are has nothing to do with that, and I don't think it has anything to do with, and you know what a huge Raspberries fan I am too.
Sure.
But there are some, being as subjective as I possibly can be, even though, I mean, being as objective as I possibly can be, because it's subjective by nature. There's a lot of acts that I think, deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before the Raspberries. Not because I like them better.
I got it. Okay, that makes sense. I agree with you on that. Look, about when they're putting people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for instance, Dolly Parton, nominated to get in the Hall of Fame. She turned it down, but then she comes out with a rock album right now. I like Dolly Parton. I do. I don't think she belongs in the Rock Hall of Fame, but
it's not the Rock Hall of Fame. That's just a name, okay?
Yeah,
and I get tired every year of. I mean, we all know that by now, okay? And yet every year there are people, usually musicians or so, that are complaining about that. And it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just not. It's more than rock, obviously. There are.
Why don't they change the name to the Music Hall of Fame? And that would make things
Music Hall of Fame or something. But I don't know because, I don't know. Obviously,
I mean, she recorded a rock album that came out and went #1. I guess she got all the best singers and did all the great songs.
Well,
and I mean, God bless her.
And then anything that's like hip hop related or something that goes in, people complain about. That's not rock. No, it's
Yeah. Well, and look, I'm not into that kind of music, but they are creating something that what they do, they're very good at that particular type of music. It's just nothing that I care for. Chuck, the future of music. Man, I don't know. Is there? I mean, I don't know.
Oldies.
Is there anybody? Oldies. I'm telling you, it's amazing that another thing was something that's would remind me of these bands that come out. You go out and see live concerts. You go out and see bands, and it says, for instance, there's 2 suites. I think there's 1 or 4 suites, and supposedly, from what I hear, one of the suites are never been in the band before. They just bought the rights to the name of the band, and they went out. What do you think about that kind of crazy?
Did you hear or read about what's going on with the Guess Who and Gordon Cummings and Randy?
And they're finally stepping down and saying, "Hey, enough is enough."
Yeah, I mean, I think there may be one original member, the bass player. When I did promotion at Haymakers, we had the Guess Who. And I remember the owners coming to me, "Hey, we can book the Guess Who." I said, "You want to do it? That's fine." But I said, "Just be aware." And this was probably 83. I said, I think the bass player is original, but that would be it. Well, I mean, look at, and again, I'm not saying it. Foreigner, there are no original members touring with Foreigner anymore.
How about it?
Mick Jones did until recently. He's not able to.
Right.
And again, that doesn't mean that they're bad, and
no, but even the singer that took Lou Graham's place has probably been longer in Foreigner than Lou Graham.
I was going to say, and where I hear that brought up a lot is, and I was a big Boston fan,
Okay.
And the fact of the matter is that people who really care, there are. Gary Pill played guitar in Boston was in the band longer than anybody other than Tom Scholz, who started it and stuff.
Sure.
But what people go back to, it's not even necessarily the original line, it's the classic lineup. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And for Boston, those first 2 albums, right? I mean,
sure.
and that's what people are looking for, and but me personally, and as you know, I saw Lou Graham recently. You thought he was a
Yeah.
great, super nice guy too. But if I had a choice, if I want to go hear Foreigner music live, and I have a choice between seeing Foreigner or going to see Lou Graham with a good band, I would pick Lou Graham. If I had a choice, if Steve Perry put together a good band and I could go hear him a night of Journey songs, I personally would rather go see that than go see Journey. And again, nothing against Journey.
Right. I
And that
agree
guy
with you
does a
100%.
great job singing for them. But
Sure.
to me,
Yeah.
as long as the guy's still alive, or guy or woman is still alive and they can still sing, the voice is what's identifiable.
Absolutely. And how about in lawsuits and stuff? How about this crazy Hall and Oates now? They're all over them. I mean, suing each other. If John Oates goes out and plays by himself, he can't sing the songs that Daryl wrote. Come
I
on.
don't know about that.
I mean,
Yeah,
is that
no, I mean, look, at least on the surface, and I don't know behind. I actually interviewed John Oates years ago, but by all appearances, the musical brains of that by far was always Daryl Hall.
correct?
Okay, I mean,
Correct.
he did most of the writing and did
Sure.
almost all the singing. I mean, now maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that I don't know about, and that very well could be,
Right.
you know. But if you
Well,
said to me, you want to go see Daryl Hall with a band, do Hall and Oates, you want to go see John Oates with, I mean, obviously I'd go see Daryl Hall.
Daryl Hall. Well, it's almost going back to the story, which I really found amusing when I think I asked you years ago. And you came out with an answer that I never thought. I mean, I love the group, but when you told me you think we had the most beautiful voice was Art Garfunkel,
He's
if I
my
remember
favorite
that.
voice on the planet.
Yeah, and that's just like the same thing. If you went out and seen Art Garfunkel live without Paul Simon, almost sort of the same kind of thing, like a Hall and
Well,
Oates.
not
Sort of.
not quite, because
Okay.
first of all, Paul wrote all the stuff.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
but the other thing is there's certain songs. I mean, if I recall, like "I Am a Rock," which was a hit for Simon and Garfunkel, that was more Paul singing. So
Right.
but I mean, certainly, could Paul sing "Bridge Over Troubled Water," which he wrote? Yeah, but
Sure.
he
Yeah, it won't be like
no, and he even said that's Artie's song. He said that. Yeah, Art Garfunkel is by far my favorite voice on the planet. I
yeah.
could sit and listen to him for hours on end.
And you met the gentleman. What was he like?
I had been warned that he was kind of a diva and stuff. He couldn't have been more gracious and more delightful. It went from him just being cordial, which would have been fine, to after about 5 or 6 minutes, to just two guys having a conversation that lasted 45 minutes. And and then
That's
and then I wanted to get a photo with him, and I heard he doesn't like doing photos. The only other person that was there was his old manager, Mort. I forget his last name. He was in his 90s then. Um, and I guess I was kind of, as we were wrapping up, kind of hemmed and hawed. And Art says, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, I would love to get a photo with you." Didn't care about an autograph. Didn't ask him for one. He would have been happy to do
yeah.
it. And I said, he goes, "Come on, let's do it." And I had a little digital camera with me, and I gave the camera to Mort. Mort's hands at 92 years old weren't real
Yeah.
steady.
It was a little shaky. Yeah.
But
Yes.
the
Yes.
photo's a tiny bit blurry, but it's great, and it makes for a great story too. But now he couldn't have been more delightful, and that my experience overall, the biggest jerk I've ever met in my life was a very well-known guitar player, but for the most
Okay.
part, I mean, it was cool meeting Lou Graham. He was wonderful, and most people have been.
How about Rascals?
They,
I,
they
I mean, I mean,
I
come
just
on.
kept laughing, man. Those guys were hilarious.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, they're New Jersey guys or Philly guys, whatever. And then you think about, because I'm friends with I think from the Photo Maker guys. There was another band that should have been.
I
I mean,
agree. I love Photomaker. Loved it.
and I always tell Vince. I think his name is Vince. One of the
Frankie
guys.
Vinci.
I go, Frankie. Reunion.
Well,
I'm always giving.
it's funny. When I saw the Rascals reunion several years ago and I met them,
Yeah.
I saw Gene Cornish, who was in Photomaker too.
And I just read his book, which is a
Right.
fantastic book.
And
Yeah.
I said to Gene on the side, I said, I was kind of half kidding. I go, when do we get at the Photomaker reunion? He just looked at me and he goes, never.
Ah, okay. So there you go.
Eh,
Yeah, and that was a great band too. And you had Wally on the other side, one of the most underrated guitar players, I think. One of the most.
He is one of my musical heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing, just amazing. So let's go. What else you got here? Peter Noone. What was he like?
The first time I met Peter Noone, remember he had a band called the Tremblers?
Sure, I got the record. Yeah, he did a version of. Did he do a version of an Elvis Costello song? I thought.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but we did a show with him with the Tremblers at Haymakers. And another question people have asked me, they go, with all these people you've met, you ever get starstruck? And what I realized a while back is the first time I met Peter Noone, I was starstruck. One of the most starstruck times for me, if I put the name Bob Keeshan out, do you know who that is?
Wait, that wasn't the Captain Kangaroo,
yes.
Was it? Absolutely.
What I realized is things from your childhood become larger than life, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
But Peter Noone, I was starstruck the first time. I've met him several times since then. I'm actually taking my sister to go see him at the Genesee Theater next month.
Oh, cool.
And you know who one of his guitar players is? Billy Sullivan is one of the Hermits, and Billy was one of the what do they call them? The dub tones or over whatever with the Raspberries when they toured. He was
right. Actually, I'm trying to reach out to Billy, get him on the show because you're right. I know he played with that. I mean, he's a great guy too.
No, Peter Noone's always been very nice. Like I said, most of these people have. I feel very fortunate. I got to see Mike Smith, the lead singer from the Dave Clark Five, twice. Once at Holiday Star with a bunch of other bands, and then he played at the Beat Kitchen, which is where I got to meet him too.
Used to love that room. Nice small room, but it was very cool.
It was Abbey Pub. That's what it was. The Abbey Pub.
Oh, the Abbey Pub. Yeah, there you go. That's a night. That was a good too. That was a great room too. Good stuff. Dennis Stefano from the Buckinghams. What do you think of him?
Super nice. Again,
nice.
It's all these people. I mean, and it's weird. Tom Duty, the lead singer from the Crying Shames, right? Who I've become friendly with. We talk periodically. I said to him probably about 5 or 6 years ago, one of those Cornerstones of Rock shows, I said, Tom, you don't understand. For a kid growing up in the 60s in Chicago, listening to WLS and WCFL, you guys, the Buckinghams, New Colony 6, you might as well have been the Beatles. I mean, did I know they were from Chicago? I don't recall. But even if I did, they were no more accessible to me than the Beatles were. And it was really no different. He was very humble to hear that. He's a super nice guy, super humble. The Cornerstone show was a lot of fun.
It's funny when I met Peter Noone, we're in line. Everybody's got Herman Hermits records, and there was a line.
You walked up with a Tremblers record, right?
No, I had a solo record. One of the Glory Boys, 1980 something, was Pop, and he did his version of "Give Me Just a Little More Time." Anyway, so he goes, "Oh, so you're the guy who bought this record?" He goes, but when you talk about, when you meet somebody and you talk about stuff, just if you talk about their hits and their biggest movies, they don't give a shit. But when they find out you're a real fan and you know stuff about them, that's when that conversation makes a little bit more, oh, this guy I want to talk to because he's a real fan.
Well, it's funny. I was briefly kind of friendly with the guys in Oasis years ago. And Noel Gallagher, who was the songwriter, he was a little drunk at the time, but we were talking, and I said, there was a group of when all is said and done, it comes down to songs. The rest of it
doesn't make a difference.
But it comes down to songs, and I said, and that's why this band's so great. And he, in his half-drunken state, looked at me, smiled, came over, and kissed me on the cheek. He said, and he looked at me, he goes, "You get it."
You get it. And then that's true. And there's a band like the two brothers fighting all the time and stuff like that. Like the King brothers.
I got a quick story about that. Yeah, they did. And they were bad mouthing. but they were great to their fans. I spent an afternoon with them after they played in Chicago at their hotel, and the tour buses outside. They're supposed to be leaving for Detroit. They come out. There's a bunch of kids that want autographs, pictures, and stuff. They stayed for an extra hour for that, and I don't think that was that untypical of them. If you were in another band or in the business, look out, But
Yeah,
fans, they were always very gracious and nice too, and appreciative.
that's I gotta love it. There was a picture that I love, and I met the gentleman once, Mr. Pete Rose. I know you love sports. Here's a man. Okay, he did what he did, but he's got to be laughing right now. Going to any sports place right now, any field you can, any stadium, and you can bet on any game you want. He did his time. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, does he not?
Well, the thing,
Chuck?
if it was up to me, he'd be in. But what people don't understand is he would have to be reinstated first before he'd be eligible, right?
Okay, yeah, okay, correct.
But even if he's reinstated, that doesn't mean he's going to be in. He would still need the votes.
Do you think they'll put him in after he passes away?
Like they did with Ron Santo?
Yes, yes, yes.
Why? That's very possible. And my question is, what makes him a better candidate dead than he was when he was alive?
So they can't give him the satisfaction that he got to
I
see
just
it.
think people get very full of themselves, and when they have a say-so and stuff like this, and then you got the whole thing with with people like Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds and stuff like that, and
maybe make a section in the Hall of Fame.
Another
thing I think,
my comment was, without really, is if their performance says they should be in, then you should vote them in. Anybody who would care enough to go to the Hall of Fame already knows the background.
Makes complete sense. And here was something I think: if Pete Rose would have came out and said, "I was sorry," like after that, it would have been in. And then it didn't. He didn't come out until his book came out years and years later that he admitted. And then I guess what I hear, there was he opened a restaurant right down the street from the Hall of Fame. So when the week of, he would have to pass his restaurant, go in there and sign, and that's another slap in the face. You know what I mean? So, but still, Charlie Hustle, no one's going to beat those hitting record. It is. I mean, there's never going to be one like that. Chuck, and I got to briefly, Eric Carmen. And you know what? People look at me like I'm a crazy nut, but wow. The talent on this guy, and I know you got to meet him, and even the look in your eye, the picture that you got, looked like you were a little
actually. The first time I met him, remember he was on that Dirty Dancing tour?
Yes,
which I really had no interest in, but I made a phone call to a friend who was friends with a woman who was handling Eric. I went to the concert. She set it up for me to meet him. Went backstage. I was completely starstruck.
Yes, you can tell in your eyes. I see your picture that you posted.
It was funny. He walks in and he knew he had been told who I was. He walks in. He goes. So he said something about shoot. So something about your band. Blah 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 blah. And he was laughing and stuff. He was very pleasant. Heard some great stories too. The guy who was his drummer on the Boats Against the Current tour, that I'll have to tell you sometime.
Yeah,
Eric.
Now, wasn't he? Did he? The guys playing out in John's band, right?
I think somebody did. Yeah,
somebody did. D. Murphy, I think maybe the drummer did, but you'll have to tell me you started that. But Eric is still one of my favorites. I'm hoping to hear some new music. You ever think that'll ever come out
from him?
Yeah.
Unlikely. I have heard from some pretty good sources that he doesn't sing very well anymore. Of course, in the studio, there are ways around that.
Oh, absolutely. You can change that. Bucket list, Chuck. We're coming almost to the end of the hour. Bucket list. Two other. If you had to write a story, there's one story you wish you would have wrote. Which one would have been?
That I wish I would have.
Wish you would have written. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Anyone.
Nothing jumps up to me. I will share one thing that's sort of. I got kicked out of a high school class once because we were asked if we could meet anybody from world history. Who would it be? And I said,
Yeah,
I,
great
I
question.
said Curly from the Three Stooges. The teacher thought I was screwing around and kicked me out of class.
Oh, that's
Curly,
fantastic.
Curly
All
died
right.
before I was born.
Yeah, well, Jerome Howard, great story that the brothers. You know what and I know when Shemp got sick, they needed somebody. He came in. They thought he was too good looking. He went upstairs, shaved his hair, came back down. I mean, and the rest is history. Is he one of the bucket list? If you had to meet anybody, would one of them be
Oh,
Curly Howard?
absolutely.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? Mo, I'd love to meet, and I'd love to meet Groucho Marx.
Okay.
There's another guy that just like the stuff that comes out of him is
I
unbelievable.
did have the pleasure. I met Mo's daughter twice. The first time, many years ago, when she had put out the first book about the Three Stooges. This is before internet and all that. I called her
Yeah,
publisher because she lived in L.A. and they gave me her home address. And when I was in L.A. visiting friends, I just like went over there and rang the bell, figuring either nobody's home, they're going to call the police. What she was home, she
yeah.
let me in. I spent an hour there, and
You want to laugh? That's amazing. I mean, she was in town doing a book tour. She made a stop at Stay Out Disco
oh wow,
and Stone Park, and they did a trivia contest. And who won the trivia contest with Waterbed Warehouse? Oh, Pepper's
yeah.
Warehouse. You got a free waterbed, and I won because I knew the book. I read the books. I had all the answers in it, and it was just fantastic. Anybody else on your bucket list you'd like to meet?
You mean from world history, or just
Anybody? Anybody in general?
I don't. I mean, obviously, it'd be really cool meeting somebody like Benjamin Franklin or Albert Einstein or George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, stuff like that. I think.
What about music wise? Anybody you want to meet that you haven't yet?
Um, I'd love to. I mean, I had a very, very brief encounter with Paul McCartney.
I knew
Very
that
brief.
was something was
You
coming
know,
up.
so
Yeah.
that would. I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be cool to get a chance to meet and talk to Mick Jagger a little bit, and even more so after the NXS guys, as you know, I'm good friends with, told me
Yeah, yeah,
4 years ago that when before Mick was going to go out on tour with a solo thing, he came to
sure.
an NXS show and was taking notes and stuff. And he
Wow.
went and sat in catering and ate with the crew and stuff. Um, if you want a quick funny story, the Stones, Keith Richard, NXS show, Andrew Ferris, the songwriter from NXS, very quiet,
Okay.
humble guy, great guy, doing some great solo music now. Catering table or something. Andrew told me this story. Keith Richards walks up to him and Andrew and says, "Hey," and Andrew, he's so humble. He says, Michael Hutchence was still alive, the singer from NXS. He goes, "Oh, you
Sure.
probably want to meet Michael." And Keith says something like, "Now, why the hell would I want to meet Michael? He's only the singer."
There you go. And Keith, I remember when Mick Jagger came out and did a solo record, and he went up to Mick. He goes, "What? You don't need to prove anything. You're Mick Jagger." And that's the only reason why he came out with the expensive. He did the expensive winos, and he took that tour out, whatever, and he made it. And his record sold better than Mick's. So I'm sure that pissed Mick off. But Chuck, it's always great to get a chance to talk to you, man. There's a lot of
Pleasure.
history. I'm wondering, is there going to be a book, Chuck? Why don't you put out I'd love to have a cocktail table book with Chuck.
With legs
Well,
underneath it open, like Kramer's book.
no, one that you get, you can put on every table. Like I've got a Beatle one like that. I got a Jilly's one like that. A book of all the
You're
stories.
not the first person who suggested that. It's possible, but there's two other books. The first, if I write a book, the first one's probably I already got a title for it. My goddaughter, who I've known since she was 6.5, she's 22 now. When she was very young, I started calling her Munchkin. Even though she got two young kids now, I still, and we've had a lot of adventures together. I
Sure.
mean, I took her, when she was 8 to see and meet Justin Bieber. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And I thought about writing a book called The Munchkin and Me. There's just some hilarious, heartwarming stories in there.
Stories. I have a friend of mine who just wrote 2 or 3 good selling kids books, and she was on the show, children's books, Tracy. But that would be interesting to see that too. I mean, I always want to say something about you, Chuck. You're always out supporting. You did for many years supporting local music,
Absolutely.
and a lot of people still kind of gave up on that. People don't actually go out no more like they used to. but I see you with different stuff, and I know when we ran into you when we went to go see Chaz. What a great one man show that was. But thank you for what you do. And there's a lot of I wouldn't have heard of any of these bands like 2020 and Paul Collins and Raspberries if it wasn't for you. And I'm sure a lot of people, maybe not even, and I hate to say this, but you were out there pushing shoes probably more than the band was themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is very, very cool. And that's another band, guys, whoever watching now, I know people watch it now or they watch it later on in the day because you can watch the show over and over. But the thing I'm trying to say is there's a band from Chicago, from Zion, Illinois, called Shoes, and another thing, there's no That's Shoes. Right. It's just Shoes, right? And the story was, if I got this right, didn't Paul said you could call us Shoes?
That has nothing to do with how they got their name. A lot of people think it does.
Oh, okay,
but they never had heard that till they saw. I think it was called the Heroes of Rock and Roll. They saw the interview, and they just going. But what's interesting is Kenny Batiste is the guy from Elektra who signed them, and he was interested, and then he saw that interview, and I remember him saying, "I thought God was talking to me," and he went ahead and signed him.
And he went and signed him, which was kind of cool. And like I said, anything new you got? Anything you're working on lately, Chuck? Anything you want to plug or anything?
No, not really. I'm doing some few freelance stories here and there. For the Doings, which is part of Pioneer Press and the Tribune.
Sure.
And doing some feature stories there's Hinsdale Magazine and Oak Brook Magazine. The guy's been running that, Scott Johnlick, for a while, and he contacted me, and that's kind of fun. So like I said, it keeps me. I enjoy the writing, and it keeps me in touch with people and gives me something to do. That's important.
Well, it's important, and thank you for what you do, Chuck, and thank you for your time. I know you're doing, buddy, and hopefully we see each other again. I need to thank you again for when you invited me out to see Todd Rundgren, which was very, very good. Another great guy, an artist and great music. But anyway, thank you so much, Chuck, and you have a happy holiday, you and your family. Okay,
take care.
Thank you, buddy. You got it. Thank you, Chuck. Hey, guys, we're coming to the end of the hour, of course. Ocean's Pit back again tomorrow with Greg Potter and Kathy Rich talking about their tour coming up. God, he's out. He just did a couple shows with Ian Pace from Black Sabbath, so that's kind of cool. A couple birthdays here for you before we say goodbye. Dynamite Kid all for you wrestling fans out there. Dynamite Kid celebrates a birthday from the British Bulldogs. Larry Sabisco. Barry Gibb turned 77 years old, folks. Jerry the King Lawler, all your wrestling fans out there. The great Louis Prima celebrating a birthday. Ted Knight from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Hallmark celebrating 50 years since 1973. And folks, we're going to continue this tomorrow with more great stories and more great stuff. Don't forget Mama D's Bread Loaves. Check out Natalie, my sister-in-law Natalie. Everybody go to her email nbos427@yahoo.com. Right there, folks. Get them, especially stocking stuffers for the holiday. Busy week coming up, folks. Carriage Greens in Darien this Thursday with the Rat Pack is sold out. Friday, Chicago Prime. Saturday will be at Club Arcada Speakeasy in St. Charles. I want to thank you all for coming. Let's go right to our good friends, of course, from Ace Hardware. Ace is the place. Buy a local, shop a local with our friends from Ace Hardware. Gotta love it, man. Donnie Biaggi, if you're out there, buddy, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. Guys, let's not forget Ace Hardware. Got some specials going on here, folks. All Carhartt clothes, 30% off through December 24th. Free assembly and delivery on all grill purchases, $399 and up. And shop at the acehardware.com in-store pickup. Will be ready in 15 minutes. And always support Ace Hardware, folks, because they always support the Children's Miracle Network. Customers can round up their purchase in the store and purchase our delicious Children's Miracle Network chocolate bars for $1 to help support that organization. Ace is the place. Buy local, shop local, helping neighbors before they were neighborhoods. Our good friends from Ace. And Donnie Biaggi, my friend from New York, if you're watching, buddy, I want to say thank you so much for this great box of cigars. You know I'm a big New York Knicks fan, and John Starks is my favorite. And I told Donnie that, and Donnie golfs with him, and they know each other. And he was kind enough to send me this signed by John Starks saying, sleep well instead of sleep warm, but still, it's John Starks for 3, New York Knicks. Thank you, Donnie Biaggi. You are the best. I love you, my brother. Any guys, have a great day. Buy local, shop local, keep supporting local establishments and live entertainment. And most of all, remember the great words of Ringo Starr. Peace and love. See you all tomorrow. Same time, same station. And let's give it up for my good buddy Nick Saya Hodges, the piano man. Take us out.
Time to go, it's the end of the show. See you later from Tony O.
Bye-bye, everybody. God bless you.